to be the third for Simp. And could that be the third round? Gunless lighting it up himself. And has it finally been the time with 2 lives left? It will be a 3-0 in control and a 3-0.
From outside, the challenge is going to come in. Scuff's got to reload. No one can finish the kill. RC's picks up 2. It's all going to be on TJ now. 1v1, and Huntsman win it. Envoy gets the kill in the 1v1. Oh my God!
Help now, Carver going for the kill. Formal hug to you. 1v1 situation is all coming over.
He might get it. He's gonna go for the toss.
The defuse here. He's gonna get it. He's gonna get it. He does it. We have a world championship.
What is going on, guys? My name is AK, back again with another YouTube video. Now in today's video we've got the first episode in a new series that I'm starting on my channel, which is Call of Duty Competitive Retrospective. So similar to the Smith Plays Zombie Retrospective, if you've seen that, we look back at all of the old competitive Call of Duty titles. We'll be looking at the maps, the modes, the gameplay, just a whole load of things about the competitive COD in those years, maybe looking at the teams that were good, certain players that maybe had breakthrough years, everything like that, just sort of having a little look back at some of the old Call of Duty titles for a little bit of nostalgia. Because that's the thing with the competitive COD community, there's people that have been around since the start and there's people that have only just got sort of into the scene and they maybe don't have as much knowledge about what it was like back then. So for those people, it's kind of a bit of an informative video, sort of explaining how the Call of Duty scene started and sort of the progression through all the different years, because every year had its big turning points in competitive Call of Duty. And I thought in order to make the series complete, we'd start right at the beginning with COD4. But for those of you that have been around a while, I thought it'd be good just to sort of reminisce on the old Call of Duty times, have a little look back to what it was like now, and have some comparison to what it's like now, because the Call of Duty scene has changed massively over the many years that it's been around. But either way, I really hope you guys enjoy this video and the rest of the series. If you do, be sure to drop a like on this video, and let's get straight into it. On the 5th of November 2007, COD4 Modern Warfare was released for the Xbox 360, PS3, and also on PC. The Infinity Ward title received universal acclaim across all platforms and was one of the biggest turning points in the franchise's history. Unlike the previous 3 titles where the campaign was the main focus, in COD4 the focus began to shift towards the multiplayer aspects of the game. This change would not only cement COD4 as a fan favourite title in the Call of Duty franchise, but also set the standard for future Call of Duty titles when it comes to online multiplayer gameplay. That's not to say that it didn't have an amazing campaign, but instead the multiplayer experience was now as important, if not more important, when focusing on how best to please the franchise's rapidly growing fanbase. Now, it wasn't long before some of these fans decided to start competing against each other through the online website Game Battles, which had recently been bought by a company known as MLG, or Major League Gaming. This was a new experience for many players, as up until this point almost all matches had been played as LAN parties, where all players would bring their setups into one room and play on a single internet connection. Now, with the ability to play remotely from anywhere in the world, the popularity of competing in the online ladders and tournaments hosted by MLG grew rapidly. Competitions on the game were split into console competitions featuring a 4v4 format and PC where gameplay was teams of 5. Very early on, players realised that the base game was not well tuned for competitive play. Perks like Juggernaut, Overkill and Claymores, which were equipped as perks back then, were really not fit for use in competitive play. This inspired many PC players early on to adopt PAM, or the Project Ares mod, which limited players to certain perks, removed score streaks, as well as provided counters to some common cheesy strategies that were frequently used at the time. One such change was the removal of hit markers, as players would just spray through walls fishing for hit markers to gain knowledge on the enemy's position. After a while on PAM, a revised version of the competitive mod was released, this time known as Pro Mod. Nearly all PC tournaments were played on the Pro Mod settings, which removed many game features such as some attachments, nearly all of the perks, as well as a whole load of map textures and graphics effects in order to better balance the game and increase the skill gap of competitive play. This is similar to how we have the competitive rule set and gentlemen's agreements in more recent Call of Duty titles. The PC meta for the game was based a lot around the weapons that the Pro Mod allowed, so usually a team of 5 consisted of 2 AK-74Us, 2 assault rifle players, often the AK-47, and 1 dedicated sniper player. While in more recent CODs the sniper was reserved for just S&D, in PC COD4 it was common practice to have 1 dedicated sniper player on your team for all game modes, including the respawns. On console the meta was slightly different, with many players opting for the MP5 and M16 assault rifle, with snipers really only making an appearance in S&D. This is partly due to the 4v4 nature of the competition, meaning that every player had to be more active on the map, but also that the Pro Mod variant of gameplay massively improved the handling of snipers, making them a lot more competitively viable than on console. The game modes played across the COD4 season consisted of Domination, which I'm sure every Call of Duty player is familiar with, Search and Destroy, the round-based bomb game mode, which is now a staple of competitive play, and Sabotage, a game mode not entirely dissimilar to Search and Destroy, but with a shared bomb and the ability to respawn. The aim of the game was to destroy the enemy's bomb site while simultaneously defending yours, and if after a set time no bomb site had been destroyed, the game switched to essentially a one-round game of search and destroy where the last remaining team won. Unlike the other game modes, this never saw any competitive play outside of COD4 and was replaced in coming years with third modes such as Capture the Flag, Uplink, and more recently Control. The map pool for tournaments was also quite thin, with no game mode being played on more than 4 maps, with actually only 5 maps played in total. These consisted of Backlot, Crash, District, Overgrown, and Strike. The small map pool combined with 2 years of gameplay on COD4, we'll get into why that was the case in a little bit, meant that teams really started to learn the ins and outs of these maps to gain a competitive advantage. Throughout the 2008 and 2009 competitive seasons, MLG hosted multiple LAN tournaments on COD4, with teams such as Extravagant Icons and Fear taking home championships. Team Envy also competed in these tournaments with second place finishes in both the 2008 and 2009 $15,000 MLG Regional Championships. This Envy roster competing at the 2009 tournament also featured Hastro, who later became the owner of Envy and is now the owner of Dallas Empire. Many other big names started playing competitive COD in the COD4 days, such as Aches, Clayster, Nadeshot, Parasite, Nameless and Replays, just to name a few. While they may not have been competing at the highest level just yet, COD4's competitive scene laid the groundwork for these players to grow into the big names of competitive Call of Duty that we know now. So while the console scene continued to develop into what it is today, the PC scene remained on the pro mod rules for a while, until fizzling out a couple of years later. Despite its November 2007 release, the competitive season for COD4 continued into 2009, despite the release of Call of Duty World at War in the November of 2018. The consensus among pro players was that Call of Duty World at War was not a good game for competitive play. Even with a revised rule set, guns such as the MP40 stood out as being particularly overpowered, and combined with movement glitches that were easy to abuse yet hard to counter, the decision was ultimately made to continue the 2009 competitive season on the previous title, a decision that we haven't seen made since. Despite this, an S&D game battle scene did exist for the game, with players such as Merc and Karma becoming actually very skilled at the game. There were however no LAN tournaments on the game, as the developers, Treyarch, didn't include LAN support for the game, meaning no in-person tournaments could actually be played. The COD Gamepedia page, whose information I've used frequently in this video, shows no results for any major tournaments played on World at War at all. Fast forward to the 10th of November 2009, the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 had both casual and competitive fans excited to get their hands on a new game. The reception for Modern Warfare 2 among the competitive community was much better than that of World at War, and so the 2010 competitive season began. In addition to the game's massive growth for the casual fanbase, Modern Warfare 2 brought many new and now familiar faces to the competitive scene, most notably Optic Gaming. Up until the release of Modern Warfare 2, Hex's Optic had been a sniping clan on YouTube. However, seeing the growth potential in the competitive scene, the team picked up Nadeshot and Merc and started their journey in competitive COD. Many other players started to make a name for themselves in the Modern Warfare 2 season, including Rambo, Big Timer and JCap, as well as the now legendary Aches and TP duo, who hold the current record for the longest duo in competitive COD history at over 3.5 years. The competitive modes for the 2010 season were changed slightly from previous years, with Sabotage and Domination removed to make way for 2 new game modes in competitive play. Demolition, a respawn variation of Search and Destroy where attackers must destroy 2 bomb sites and defenders must prevent them from doing so, and Capture the Flag, another well-known game mode in competitive COD that also featured in many titles after Modern Warfare 2. Many people welcomed a change of game modes as players were beginning to get bored of COD4 Sabotage, and so the introduction of Demolition and Capture the Flag offered a new challenge for players to master. Similar to COD4, the map pool for Modern Warfare 2 was again quite limited, with only 5 maps played across all competitive game modes. 4 of them, High Rise, Invasion, Scrapyard and Terminal, were played across all 3 game modes, and 1, Karachi, was played in S&D only. This was the start of a now common Call of Duty map pool decision to have one map in the rotation as an S&D only map. For those of you that are watching or competing in recent years, examples now include like Payload in Black Ops 4, Arklov Peak in Modern Warfare and Miami in Black Ops Cold War. All these maps feature only for Search and Destroy and not for any of the respawn game types. The competitive maps for Modern Warfare 2 were generally quite well received, and I think this was helped by the fact that many players were just excited to be playing something new after 2 years on Call of Duty 4. The weapon balance in Modern Warfare 2 also made for a very exciting year. Unlike many more recent COD games, a lot of weapons were competitively viable, and this made way for many strategies and playstyles within the game. The ACR was a very strong assault rifle, but guns such as the FAMAS, UMP, TAR and P90 all saw game time in competitive play, not to mention the intervention in Search and Destroy. Of course, with every competitive COD title, an MLG Game Battles rule set was introduced, banning away things that players deemed low skill or that negatively affected the enjoyment of competitive gameplay. However, the amount of viable options that the game had really showed Infinity Ward's ability to create a well-balanced and fun game that is still enjoyable to this day. In terms of tournaments, the annual MLG National Championship returned, this time in Dallas, with an increased prize pool of $23,000, $8,000 more than the previous year. The winning team, Team Influence, took the lion's share of the prize, coming in at $12,000. However, some notable placements are Aches and TP's VWS Leverage roster placing 2nd, and Optic placing 4th, a roster consisting of Nadeshot, Merc, Flawless and Vengeance. Clayster's team managed a 5th, 6th placement at this event, however, unfortunately for them, this was outside of the prize money. GameStop also hosted a $14,000 tournament during the Modern Warfare 2 season, which was won by TCM Gaming, an organisation that remained strong in the competitive COD scene until the Black Ops 3 season many years later. So what are my final thoughts on the early years of Call of Duty competitive? In my opinion, the early days of competitive Call of Duty on COD4 and Modern Warfare 2 helped shape the competitive gameplay and COD community into what we know it's become today. The emergence of big talent names such as Nadeshot, Clayster and many more gave competitive players people to look up to and hours of content to enjoy. Many people like to reminisce about coming home from school and putting on their favourite competitive COD YouTubers to watch while they grind the game battles ladder into the early hours of the morning, and this all started with the foundations that the first few years of competitive COD laid out. That being said, the state of the game has changed massively since the days of COD4 and Modern Warfare 2. Most notably, the pace of the more recent games has increased massively, meaning players now not only have to be perfect aim and movement, but also lightning fast reaction speeds. I really noticed this myself when COD4 Remastered came out during the Infinite Warfare season of 2017. To me personally, the gameplay feels slow and sluggish compared to the gameplay that we get now, so for this reason I doubt that a similar game produced now would satisfy what the competitive community are looking for. This is despite many calls for remastered games to have a place in the competitive spotlight again. Either way, I don't think anyone can deny the massive impact that these games had on both growing the Call of Duty franchise into what it is today, as well as growing the competitive scene from something very unknown to something that was starting to catch the eye of many players, either for casual competitive fun on the game battles ladders, or more serious ambitions to compete at the highest level for, at the time, some pretty decent prize money. All that was certain, however, is that the COD competitive scene was only going to grow with more tournaments, more content and more prize money up for grabs on Call of Duty's biggest stage. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to join me soon for the next episode where we take a look at Black Ops 1 and Modern Warfare 3, as well as the emergence of even more of Call of Duty's top talent, including the King himself. I hope to see you there. Have a good one.